morning children. In the last class we discussed about chemical bonding, few topics, and I said to this lesson few topics are deleted and what are the topics are given. I am going to discuss the topics only amma. So we discussed about chemical bonding, why they will participate in a chemical, the force of attraction between any two atoms or group of atoms that results a stable entity is said to be a chemical bond. Force of attraction between two atoms or a group of atoms that results a stable entity is called chemical bond. In that chemical bond we discussed about covalent bond, ionic bond, and why they will participate in a bond. What is the reason why they will participate in a bond formation? To get a octet state configuration. What is meant by octet state configuration? Having 8 electrons in the outermost shell is said to be a octet state configuration. Octet state configuration. To get that octet state configuration, atoms will participate in a chemical reaction. And how they came to know that 8 electrons will give the stability? How they will came to know that 8 electrons will give the stability? By observing the inert gases. You know about the inert gases from the periodic table. If you see the 8th group is said to be inert gases. Inert gases. In that, if you observe helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. From the 8, from these inert gases except helium, remaining all they have the 8 electrons in the outermost shell. That's why they are chemically inactive. What is meant by chemically inactive? Never participates in a chemical reaction. Never participates in a chemical reaction. Okay? And the force of attraction between two atoms or a group of atoms to get a stable configuration is said to be chemical bond. And Cosell proposed that first type of chemical bond is ionic bond, and ionic bond is found between the atoms of two different elements, especially metals and non-metals. One atoms are ready to lose the electron. If they lose the electrons, they form the positive charge, positive ions, and they are known as cations. And by gaining the electrons, it forms a negative charge. They are known as anions. And the bond takes place between two different elements are called as a ionic bond. By the bond, the force of attraction between two atoms is said to be a chemical bond. Chemical bond is up to so many types. First type is ionic bond, and the bond formed between the atoms by transfer of electrons is said to be a ionic bond. The atom which is transferring the electron, it acquires a positive charge, forms a positive ion and known as cation, and the atom which gains the electron is said to be a negatively charged particle and gains a negative ion and said to be a anion. So the bond formed between anions and cations is also known as ionic bond, and a bond formed between the bond formed due to transfer of electrons is said to be ionic bond, and the bond formed between the two electrons is said to be electrovalent bond. So all these are named as a ionic bond. First example is given as a sodium chloride. Formation of a sodium chloride. Sodium chloride formula NaCl, where sodium atomic number is 11, its configuration is 2, 8, 1. You can see on the screen. So sodium, in the last outermost shell, 1 electron is there. Getting 7 electron to make the octet is easier. Losing 1 electron is easy. In the case of sodium, losing 1 electron is very easy instead of getting 7. So sodium loses 1 electron. By losing, it acquires a positive charge and known as, read as cation and name as Na+. You can see the equation there. Sodium atomic number is 2, 8, 1, and losing 1 electron it forms Na+. and giving rise 2, 8. Let me show that. the brush on the screen. Okay. Next, anion formation. Chlorine, its atomic number is 17, its configuration is 2, 8, 7. How many outermost shell electrons are present in chlorine? 7. Getting 1 is easy or losing 7 is easy. In the case of chlorine, getting 1 is easy. So, chlorine acquires one charge and becomes a positive charge particle. Positive charge particle, negative charge particle known as a anion. So, sodium forms a cation and chloride forms a anion, and the bond takes place by transfer of electrons from sodium to chlorine is said to be a ionic bond. This is a way of writing the ionic bond, and important for 4 marks. How we will write the ionic bond? The bond formed by transfer of electrons between two dissimilar atoms or elements is known as ionic bond. In ionic bond, good example is sodium chloride cation formation, means positive ion formation. How it forms a positive ion? By losing one electron. So write the sodium configuration, and by losing one electron it forms a cation, that is said to be a 2, 8, that is Na plus. And anion formation, Cl minus, means sodium chlorine atomic number is 17, its configuration is 2, 8, 7. It gets one electron and forms 2, 8, and forms chloride ion. So the bond formed between a sodium and chlorine is said to be a sodium chloride. Na plus Cl minus gives rise to NaCl. Okay, clear? Next example is magnesium chloride. So magnesium and chlorine both are the different elements, but transfer of atoms from one element to other elements which are different in nature are said to be a ionic bond. Magnesium atomic number is 12. Its configuration is 2, 8, 2. In the outermost, how many electrons are there? 2. Getting 2 is easier, removing 2 is easier. Getting 6 is easy, removing 2 is easy. So by losing 2 electrons, it forms Mg2 plus. What 2 plus indicates? 2 electrons are lost. And by losing the electrons, it forms a cation. And chlorine, its atomic number is 2, 8, 7. To get one electron, octet state, it gets one electron. But magnesium is losing 2. So 2 chlorines will combine, participate in a chemical reaction. That's why formula is MgCl2. Magnesium chloride formula is MgCl2. This indicates 2 chlorines are required to share the 2 electrons given by magnesium. So what is ionic bond? The bond formed by transfer of electrons between two dissimilar elements is known as ionic bond. And first example is sodium chloride, and second example is magnesium chloride. Formula is MgCl2. Third example is disodium monoxide. What is that? Disodium monoxide. Sodium atomic number is 11. Its configuration is 2, 8, 1. By losing one electrons, it forms 2, 8 and forms a cation. And sodium, it forms an anion, that is oxide. It forms the anion. So the bond takes place between cation and anion is said to be ionic bond. Next formation is aluminium chloride. Formula AlCl3. Aluminium atomic number is 13. Its configuration is 2, 8, 3. So in the outermost shell of a aluminium, how many electrons are present? 3. Getting 3 is losing 3 is easier. Getting 5 is easy. Losing 3 is easy. So it loses 3 electrons and forms Al plus 3. And chlorine, it gets only 1 electron to get octet. But here chlorine aluminum is giving 3. So 3 chlorines will share the 3 electrons. That's why its formula is AlCl3. Aluminum forms positive ion and chlorides forms a negative ion. The bond takes place between two opposite charged ions are also known as ionic bond, or the bond takes place by transfer of electrons between two dissimilar atoms elements is also known as ionic bond. Okay. Next, arrangement of ions in ionic compounds. How the arrangement of ions? You are saying that the bond takes place between the ions is said to be ionic bond. How that ions are arranged? Let us discuss with a simple example about the sodium chloride. What is the sodium chloride formula? NaCl. It is also known as a common salt, edible salt. Okay. Now, see here, the sodium chloride is poses to be face-centered cubic lattice structure. Its structure is crystalline structure. Most of the ionic bonds are in a crystalline structure only, and most of them are solids. And the E solids is accompanied in sodium chloride with a 6. So it is coordination number is 6. Its coordination number is 6. What does it indicate, Sama? 6 elements are present around this and 2 are participates in that. So it is said to be a. So factors affecting the ionic bond is formed between the atoms of elements with electronegativity difference is equal to greater than 1.5. In ionic bond formation, you have noticed that atoms either lose electrons or gain electrons to octet state configuration. In ionic bond, transfer of electrons takes place between combining atoms. The tendency of losing electrons to form cations or gaining electrons of atoms forms anions is said to be a ionic bond. And ionic bond are some factors which affect the ionic bond is atomic size, ionization and potential, electron affinity, electronegativity and electronegative character. So all these factors affect the ionic bond. What is atomic size? The distance from the nucleus to the outermost shell is said to be a atomic size. It is also known as atomic radius. What is ionization potential? What is ionization potential? Energy required to remove the electron from the gaseous neutral atom in the outermost shell is said to be a ionization potential. Electron affinity, it is a tendency to attract the electron affinity is a electron affinity is a energy lost by the electron when electron is added to the atom in a gaseous state is known as electron affinity. Electronegativity, it is a tendency to attract the bonded pair of electrons towards the nucleus is said to be a electronegativity. So all these factors affect the ionic bond. What is the ionic bond? The bond formed by transfer of electrons between two dissimilar elements is known as ionic bond, or the bond formed between the ions is said to be a ionic bond, and the bond formed between the two different valency elements are also said to be a ionic bond. It is also known as electrovalent bond or electrostatic force, electrostatic bond. Okay. Next comes to the next bond type of a bond is given by G.N. Lewis in 1916, and it is named as a covalent bond. Covalent bond. And first example what we are discussing about the covalent bond, that is a fluorine atom. Fluorine atomic number is 9. Its configuration is 2,7. In that 7, 6 are paired and 1 is unpaired. You can see the unpaired electrons are represented, valence shell outermost shell electrons are represented in the form of a dot or a cross around the atom is given by Lewis. So this structure is known as Lewis dot structure. The representing the outermost electrons around the element in pairs is said to be a Lewis dot structure given by Lewis. In the case of a fluorine, its atomic number is 9. Its configuration is 2, 7. So how many are there in the outermost shell? 7. How the 7 are arranged? See, in that 7, 6 are paired and 1 is unpaired. So 6 are paired, 2 are there in the 3 sides and 1 is placed singly occupied in the first site. The 2 fluorines combine F2 molecule. When it is said to be F2, when 2 fluorine atoms combine, it is said to be a fluorine molecule. That is F plus F, it gives to F2. F plus F, it gives to F2. Okay. Around the fluorine, there are the 7 atoms and the outermost shell electrons. In that, one is unpaired, and unpaired will participate in a bond formation to get a octet state configuration around the each fluorine. So here 2 fluorines will combine. Instead of transferring, they will share the electron. They will share the electron, and the bond formed by sharing the electron between the 2 atoms is said to be a covalent bond, and is given by G.N. Lewis. Who gave this? G.N. Lewis. In which year? 1916. See children here, fluorine atomic number is 9. Its configuration is 2, 7. How many are there in the outermost? 7. And the 7 are represent around the fluorine. In that 7, one is unpaired. You can see on the screen, unpaired electron also represent in the form of a dot. Here, 2 fluorines will combine together with a force of attraction. Instead of transferring, they will share the shared pair. And if a bond is formed by sharing the electrons between 2 atoms, is said to be a covalent bond. Here, 2 atoms are shared by 2 fluorines. So it is said to be a covalent bond. See, the chemical bond between the 2 atoms by mutual sharing of pair of valence shell electrons, so that both of them can attain octet state configuration in valence shell, is known as chemical bond. By sharing first fluorine as well as the second fluorine, both are getting octet state configuration. So it is said to be a covalent bond. And in covalent bond, prefix co is used to indicate the things are equally joined. And here each atom contribute 1 electron from the valence shell for the bonding. Therefore, the name of covalent bond is given for this bond. Okay. Next example for covalent bond is formation of oxygen molecule. The electronic configuration of oxygen is 8. Its configuration is 2, 6. So each oxygen will have the 2 unpaired electrons, and each oxygens combine together and shares 2 electrons. There is a 4 electrons and forms the bond. As it is sharing the 2 pairs, it is example for a double bond. Example for double bond. Why I am not able to write, I don't know today. Let me write, I will show this. See here, oxygen atomic number is 8. Its configuration is 2, 6. In the 6 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 2 are in a S. And in the, let me write once again. Oxygen atomic number is 8. Its configuration is 2, 6. 2 means 1s2 and 2s 2, 2p 2. unpaired electrons are there for each oxygen. So how you will write that oxygen in the form of a Lewis dot oxygen? These two, how many are in the outermost shell, Amma? How many are there in the outermost shell? Complete total 6. In that 6, how many are unpaired electrons? Sorry, 4 here. In that 4, 2 are unpaired. Let me represent outermost total 6 electrons. 2 are paired of S and 2 px. 2py 1 electron, 2pz 1 electron. You are able to see on the screen here? Yes. And next it combines with another oxygen. 2 are paired of S and 2 are of 2px, 2py, 2pz. So this will combine in this way and this will combine. It means around each oxygen 2 pairs of electrons are shared. As it is sharing the 2 pair of electrons, it is example for double bond. Cleared? Once again, children, oxygen molecule is example for double bond. That is covalent bond. What is meant by covalent bond? The bond formed by sharing of electrons is sharing of valential electrons is said to be a covalent bond. In covalent bond example, fluorine molecule, oxygen molecule. What is meant by molecule? When atoms combine, it is said to be a molecule. Here, oxygen atomic number is 8. Its configuration is 2, 6. In that 6, 4 are paired and 2 are unpaired for each oxygen. The 2 unpaired electrons of each oxygen combines with 2 unpaired electrons of another oxygen and 4 electrons are equally shared by them. If 4 are shared, around already 6 are present. If they are shared 2 electrons, it becomes a 8. So by sharing, both the atoms are getting octet state configuration. So this is example for covalent bond. Clear? What we have discussed in chemical bond, Amma? We discussed about ionic bond and covalent bond. What is the ionic bond? The bond formed by transfer of electrons between 2 dissimilar elements is said to be an ionic bond. And example, sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, sodium oxide, aluminium chloride. All these are examples for sodium chloride. And in that examples, both the compounds are forming, all the compounds are forming cation and anion. So as the bond takes place between the ions, it is also said to be a ionic bond. Second type of bond is given by Lewis, and it is a covalent bond. And covalent bond is formed by sharing of electrons. By sharing of electrons between 2 atoms, similar atoms or 2 different atoms. By sharing of electron, if a bond is formed, then it is said to be a covalent bond. Example is fluorine molecule, oxygen molecule. Okay, that's all for today. Let me remind, I have to give the notes of 4th lesson, 5th lesson and 7th lesson. So tomorrow's video, I am going to post the notes of 4th lesson. As the regular class comes in your student unique app, and a video, the question answers video, the PDF I will post in a WhatsApp group. Please children, first complete your classwork, because in the January 18th onwards you have your essays. Need to write your paper, 40 marks paper. So for that you need a question answers. So as soon as I post, you complete it for 2 hours, complete in the same day. Complete on particular day only. Okay. Thank you children.